John Jones, after scoring his very impressive victory, did I don't know, are we calling it the Trump dance, the Trump celebration? I prefer the Trump pump. Let's take a look at John Jones here and see how his Trump pump stands up compared to some of the others that we've seen in recent days.
I'm sure. I also want to say a big thank you to President Donald Trump for being here tonight. Can I get a oh, yeah! Hey, what do you guys think about my version of the Donald Trump? Check it out. USA! USA! Let's go! I'm proud to be a great American champion. I'm proud to be a Christian American champion.
Did I hear Mark Cuban's voice in that crowd? Was that Mark Cuban out there chanting USA and maybe doing the Trump pump himself? No, it probably wasn't. Was it? I may have gotten carried away there, but the Trump pump is sweeping the nation, much to the consternation of the people that are concerned that he's about ready to destroy American society and put our entire nation on the brink of God knows what, because that's still what I hear when I listen to the legacy media. Brock Bowers and the Trump pump. The NFL is not enjoying the Trump pump celebration era. It does not seem to me. The Las Vegas Raiders, not inclined to have Brock Bowers, who had 13 catches, 126 yards, and a touchdown that he decided to celebrate in style. Armando, what do you make of this with the players doing the Trump celebration and the league seeming like they would rather there not be much attention placed on that?
Well, I wouldn't say the NFL as a league would say don't do this, because obviously they may feel that way in their heart of hearts, but they can't ever say that or give any clues as to that, because that would kind of offend about half the population of America, which is a bad business decision by the NFL, or would be. What I would tell you is that in the media realm, and as you know, the media leans a certain way normally. You have people that are making decisions on their own. And yesterday we had that. We had Brock Bowers scoring a touchdown for the Raiders, doing the Trump dance, along with multiple teammates, as you know, because you had the picture up. And CBS, which was broadcasting the game and showed the dance live, on their social media, they decided to edit it out. They cut away from the dance and decided that Mark Davis doing this was more impressive to viewers and on social media. There are 1.2 million subscribers on social media than Brock Bowers doing this. And, you know, it's ridiculous. It's a bad look, because guess what? They got caught. And now, instead of just posting a little dance like the Gritty or anything else, they look like they're taking sides, and that's bad for CBS. Same with the Raiders. They were fine. They actually posted the dance on their social media. But when Bowers was asked about it after the game in the locker room, as soon as the one question came out and Bowers gave an answer, that's where the interview was abruptly ended. And so, again, not a great look for the PR team. Look, if you're afraid of what he's about to say, maybe you should do your job and give him a heads up as to what might be the narrative to carry. Or maybe you should just stay the hell out of the whole situation.
Jemele Hill has joined the fray, which I don't suppose we should be surprised by, Armando, tweeting about this, saying, so the new rule is that athletes who support Trump don't have to answer any questions about their political beliefs, but when other athletes support political and social causes, they do. Got it. Just trying to figure out where the goalposts are moving next. It sounds like she's complaining about pro-Trump athletes not having an opportunity to speak about their political beliefs, which strikes me as a little bit curious, Armando. It seems like she probably wouldn't want them to get the microphone.
Well, bless her heart. Jemele's a good person, love her to death. But she's coming at it from a certain, I guess, worldview. And if you ask all the people that support the Trump dance, I would say that 100% would say, go ahead and ask the athletes what they did and why they did it, because those people are the people that don't want to be, taken off of social media. Those are the people that believe in the First Amendment and speaking up. They're not the ones that are trying to shut anyone down. They're the ones that are trying to actually amplify the fact that these dances have become a cultural phenomenon. So the idea that, the Trump dancers, they've got special rules that they don't have to answer questions. I'm quite sure that they would love to answer questions. And it's the people that are making these quote unquote rules that don't actually exist are the problems, not the people doing the dance.
Dana White said that this was good for society, good for America. Let's take a look at what the UFC head honcho had to say about the evening's events.
Is it positive for the UFC with him being the president, or does it not change anything?
I think it's positive for the world, to be honest with you. I mean, listen, no matter what side of the fence you sit on politically, you cannot deny that there's almost like this weight that's been lifted off the country right now, and this sigh of relief. And things are already getting better. He's not even in there yet.
So it's a very interesting scene in New York when Trump shows up and you see that kind of emotion and that kind of reaction in New York City. I compel you to remember, that wasn't Tuscaloosa, Alabama. That's New York City, and there's John Jones giving Donald Trump a little bro shake there afterwards. And the media is just going to have to contend with the fact that Donald Trump is a lot more popular than they have characterized things for a long time. Yeah, he won the election. He won the election. He won the popular vote. He won the Electoral College. People like him. And so it gets a little bit harder, I think, for mainstream media to continue with the coverage that paints him as Adolf Hitler, which is the comparison that we saw being made right up until Election Day. So our country obviously still has a lot to process in terms of figuring out where we go from here. We've been at loggerheads for so long between two different sides that it seems oftentimes aren't living in the same reality. How do you have a conversation with somebody that you're not even sure is processing the same information and world events that you are? We need to try to find a path forward in these next 4 years, and maybe events like UFC 309 there, where we saw a lot of folks that, in some cases, maybe in the past, we wouldn't have expected to see athletes doing a Donald Trump dance or going out of their way to pay respect to Donald Trump. We're starting to see that a little bit more these days, and I do think that it is the dawn of at least maybe a peak at a different era in American society. Obviously, we've got a lot of work to do. Let me now bring in a man who, I don't know how much work he has to do. This son of a bitch is always on vacation. He was up in Chicago this weekend, invading my territory. I speak, of course, of the international streaming star from Nashville, Tennessee, presumably Ronnie T-shirts. And Ronnie, I'm looking, there it is.
I'm back.
There's your common background. You're back where you belong. I'm glad to see that you got the hell out of my town before I had to beat your ass. I was
Loser leave town match.
Yeah, I mean, you came in here wearing flannel, stepping in on my turf, and I didn't know how I felt about it. So, Ron, let's start with the UFC here. That was quite a reaction that Trump got at the Garden.
Yeah, it was. It was resounding, some might say. You know, Dana White said something, and I'm trying to think of the right analogy, and I just can't at the moment, but I know I've felt it before. But you know, when there's a result that you're not happy with in your own life, your own personal life, but you feel a sense of relief because that ordeal is over and you can kind of just move forward. I think that's what Dana White was referring to when he said he felt like a weight was lifted off everybody's shoulders. So I think even people that were, anti-Trump, because I really think most people were more anti-Trump than they were pro-Harris. I think maybe they were just as like, all right, look, it's over. Let's just move forward and see how this goes.
It'll be interesting to see what it looks like, Ron, because as I've said before, we've talked about what we've seen on the left, where we're still hearing a lot of the same kind of talk that we heard leading up to the election. And it's hard to put the brakes on when you have demonized somebody to the point that you are comparing him to Hitler.
Right.
And a lot of people on your side have bought into that, whether the people that were comparing him to Hitler really believed it or not. And I don't think that the Democrat power brokers really believe it at all, because as we've said, you got Joe Biden inviting Hitler to the White House for a photo op. You don't do that. I mean, make up your fucking mind. And people need to look at this and say, hey, look, I've been lied to. Why would Joe Biden sit down and make friendly with the new Hitler? Why would he possibly do that? So you got to ask yourself, right? Maybe Joe Biden and the Democrats didn't really believe all of the things that they were saying about Donald Trump that were intended to fearmonger and frighten people away from voting for him. Because it's one of two things, right? Like either they didn't believe any of this bullshit, or Joe Biden is perfectly comfortable sitting down with Hitler. So take your pick of which one it is. But at some point, we've got to wash some of this bullshit off of us as a society. Like our society needs to be hosed down from a lot of the muck and shit that we've been wallowing in with all of the rhetoric that's been coming predominantly from the left towards Donald Trump. It's not ordinary rhetoric. It's not saying this is a bad candidate. It's not saying that this guy's going to fuck stuff up with his policies. It went much further than that, and I don't know how easy it is to put the toothpaste back in the tube now.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see how the left that's been spouting off for God knows for how long, if they have the ability to kind of admit that, okay, this is good. Trump's a good president. Things are good now. Because I always remember back when Tyler was little and she wouldn't try a certain food. No, I don't like it. No, I don't like it. I don't want it. I don't want it. And we'd finally get her to try it. And you could tell that she was like, okay, I do like this, but she'd keep being obstinate and act like she didn't like it because she didn't want it. Even at 3 and 4 years old, she knew that she had gone so hard about saying I didn't like it. She was almost embarrassed to now like that thing. And I'm just wondering, is this where we're at with that side? Are they going to admit that they like it?
How do you go from where you've been to saying that anything is acceptable. It requires a certain amount of self-confidence and security. It requires being able to say, I was wrong. I was misled. And yeah, I mean, that's a little bit embarrassing. I agree, but I stand here before you as somebody who has said that. I have evolved as information has come out, as I've watched the events of the last 8-9 years unfold. I have evolved, and I have tried to go where I believe the facts have led me. Did you see, speaking of facts and changing opinions about public figures, did you see Rogan talking about Obama on his show recently? Ronnie, he was talking about kind of how he soured on Barack Obama and why that happened. Let's go ahead and take a look at it, and then I'll get your reaction, Ronnie.
Obama during this Kamala Harris administration, it changed my opinion of that guy. Boy.
Really? Did you have a high opinion of him before?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I did, just as an intelligent person, a statesman. But watching him just straight up lie about Trump, the thing that got me was that very fine people thing, the white supremacist thing. They just kept trying to say that he was a racist, which is this thing that I think worked in like 2017.
Yeah.
You know, I think it worked back then. I don't think it works anymore. I don't think people believe it anymore.
So there you go, Ron. Something that we talked about on this program. Obama out on the stump, campaigning, pushing hard for Kamala. As you know, the closer we got to the election, the harder he was pushing and trying to exert his influence. And he talked about the very fine people hoax just right in the closing hours of the campaign. And he knows that not to be true. Look, I know politician lies film at 11, Ron. They all lie. They all lie. There is no politician that doesn't lie sometimes, including your favorite ones. They all do it. It's a sport. There's going to be lying involved in it. There just is. But for Obama to so bald-faced lie about something that has been so thoroughly and clearly debunked, even though a wide swath of the American public isn't aware that it's been debunked, because the media, although they could debunk it in 2 seconds, the mainstream legacy media has perpetuated the narrative that they wanted, that Donald Trump was a racist. But if you go back and you watch it, as we've said many times, he explicitly states that he's not talking about white nationalists and that he's not talking about KKK members and so forth. He said that, okay? So Obama is out there tarring the guy as a racist when he knows good and well that he's not. And I've been led to believe for most of my life that calling somebody a racist without having adequate evidence for that, without having a basis for that, is one of the worst, most cowardly, shitty pieces of character assassination that you can possibly attempt on someone. So that said a lot to me as well about Barack Obama. And I will say, as somebody that voted for Obama in 2008, I've lost a lot of respect for him as well, because that's a horrible thing to do. I think any of us to say, to paint somebody else as a racist, and particularly to paint somebody as a racist that you've already seen the guy have 2 attempts on his life. So you want to talk about kicking somebody while they're already in a dangerous situation to go out and try to stoke hatred towards someone even more. I just thought that it was a real bad look for Barack Obama, and I agree with Rogan here.
It was a bad look for Obama, but I just think Obama is akin to an athlete in a sporting event, a football player that's, you ever hear somebody say, if you're not cheating, you're not trying. Well, somebody might try to, an offensive lineman might hold, but we've got a referee there to say you're holding and throw a flag on it. Well, the media, who how I feel about the media is the devil. They're the kind of referee here, and they are blatantly staring at holding, and they're just not calling it because they want that team to win. That's what it feels like. The media has an opportunity.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
How else do you explain it, Ron? I mean, all you have to do is watch the next 60 seconds of what Trump says after the very fine people comment. If you have any doubt about what he meant, all you got to do is watch the next 60 seconds. Yeah. If a Democrat had stepped in it by saying something that could have been construed negatively like that and then clarified what they meant a minute later, all we would have seen was the clarification over and over and over again until everybody in America had seen the fucking clarification and they had helped them clean it up. And that's what they should have done if it had been a Democrat who misspoke or said something. I mean, Trump didn't even misspeak. He just said something that, like a lot of things, was open to a creative negative interpretation if that's what you wanted to assume. And so if it happens to anybody, right or left, the media, the only job they have is to tell us what happened and tell it to us in the most accurate, balanced way that they possibly can. And they willfully misled the public. And they've done it ever since 2017, and they allowed it to happen right up to the election, and were content to do it. They have no credibility. They have no honor. They have no reason to be believed. When Elon Musk said, "You're the media now," that is and if he's right, that is potentially one of the great pivotal moments in the history of how Americans consume information, Ron, because we've gotten to a point now where I don't know if the legacy media is ever going to clean it up. I do think that they're going to try to be somewhat more fair to Trump now, because as they read Trump's popularity and they start to see this, I think they're going to have to treat him at least somewhat more fairly than they have. But I don't know, man. I think people are losing their faith in the mainstream media, in the legacy media, and if they don't clean it up fast, their reputation is going to be tarnished, Ron, past the point of it being reparable, I would say.
Oh, I think I disagree with you. I don't think it might happen. I think it has happened. I think the fact that the referees were on their side and Trump still won, I think that shows that there's been a huge shift in how people think and where people consume their media. I think it's over for them. I really, really do. I have no reason to believe that they're ever going to tell me the truth again. They proved for, gosh, it feels like 8 years. It was just so one-sided, and I don't see how, me personally, I'm never going to trust them again.
Nor am I, man. As I said to you last week, I don't trust the FDA. I don't trust, if the government is telling me anything, I'm just like, well, you know what? I just don't have any. I mean, I don't know. Should I believe it? I've lost faith in what the government says. I've lost faith in what the media says. And so we need an era of transparency, and we'll see how much transparency we get. Mike Tyson, Jake Paul bout, Ronnie, the buffering was insane. Netflix making this huge move into airing a live major sporting event. And you can see my tweet here, Ron. I said, Netflix gets an F for this. I haven't had this slow of a connection since I was logging on to AOL from a landline in 1996. It was brutal, dude. I can't tell you how many times I had to back out, try to restart it again. It would always get to 76%, and then it would just stay there for somewhere between 5 minutes and what felt like eternity. Every time it would come back, it would go out again. I thought that it was going to work for a while, and then right before the fight started, while they were doing the introductions, it went out finally for like the 20th time, and I just said, fuck it, I'm going to watch it on my phone. And I had to reload it and load it back on my phone too, but at least my phone seemed to be able to handle it better than my home Wi-Fi.
Well, check
But it
this
was
out, Rick.
just a fucking shit show.
So check this out. So Tyler and I met my friend who I mentioned him before. Greatest name of all my friends. His legit name is Perry Como. And so we met Perry and his wife at, we met his,
I enjoy your other friend, Guy Lombardo, as well. Perry Como. Yeah. It's just fabulous to know that you're hanging with him.
It really is. So anyways, we meet him at Mother Hubbard's in River North in Chicago to watch the fight. And they were having buffering problems also. They ended up, our waitress told us that she pulled down an illegal stream on her phone and they shot from her phone to the TV system, and we watched it off of an illegal stream from her phone in the bar. Like, that's how bad it was.
How crazy is that? It's just fucking Netflix, you know? And there's a lot of people that are freaking out. They said there were like 60 million viewers, or at least 60 million people attempting to view. And even when it was coming in, it was blurry for me. The picture was not good even when I was getting it. But how sad is this? And they've got a couple of NFL games on Christmas Ron.
Day. Yeah, I know.
So there's a bunch of people that are already freaking out about this because Mike Tyson and Jake Paul is one thing, but if people aren't able to enjoy their NFL, there's going to be a rebellion.
So you were watching the fight by yourself at home, right?
I was watching the fight at home with a couple of my daughters. Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, so I got to experience Tyler experiencing a big fight for the first time in her life. And I was telling her, I'm like, this is what it was like. I mean, the bar, Ricky, was before the fight was electric. Like you could feel it in the air. And I'm just looking at her. I'm like, you've never seen anything like this before, have you? She goes, no, this is crazy. Now, obviously the fight didn't really live up to the pre-fight feeling, but it was fun.
I think Mike was buffering a few times during the fight, Ron.
Yeah.
There were a few times when he was getting ready to throw his hands and I saw the little spinning circle come up over him. But look, Mike made somewhere around $20 million. You can see here, Terrence Crawford, who's probably the best pound for pound fighter in the world, says, I love Mike Tyson, but they're giving him too much credit. He looked like trash. To train that long and only throw 97 punches the whole fight is crazy. I'm just glad he didn't get hurt out there. Okay, well, first of all, I'm glad he didn't get hurt also because, Ron, as you know, I was pulling for him to win. In my heart of hearts, I knew that was going to be a really big ask, but it's fun to think about and contemplate. I didn't wager on it. I was just hoping for the best. He looked pretty good for the first 30, 45 seconds. So it was kind of exciting. And then by, I would say, the third round, I knew that there was probably no way that he was going to win. And by the time it got to, say, the fifth round, I was really just praying that he didn't get hurt or embarrassed.
Well, Paul had no intention of doing either of those things.
Well, I don't know, dude. I do think that Paul dialed back some in the eighth round, certainly, but there were a few moments in there where I think Jake was going to see if he could knock Mike Tyson out. But look, $20 million or whatever it is that Mike made, he didn't get knocked down. He didn't get beat up, really. He lost the fight. It wasn't competitive. I gave Mike the first round, and then I gave Jake the next 7. One of the judges had it a shutout. 2 of the judges had it 7-1 also. But it wasn't a fight where you're like, oh my God, Mike took such a beating. I would have gone in there. Look, look, Jake Paul would knock me out. I'm very realistic about that. He's not a bantamweight. But would I be willing for $20 million to go in the ring and take the level of beating that Mike got? Absolutely. Sign me up. It didn't look that bad.
No.
You know, so So, do we feel sorry for Mike? Hey, look, Father Time is undefeated, as everyone knows. But $20 million to go in there and just kind of turn in a performance where you look like a 58-year-old man, but you don't really get hurt. I think that's a win for Mike Tyson.
Well,
I would certainly have been glad to do it for that much money.
And the world got to see that bare ass of his and say, man, 58 years old and that bare ass still looks like that. So that's a win for Mike too.
Do you think that he could have outrun Rocky Balboa, Ronnie, Mike Tyson, if they were on the beach?
No.
And maybe Mike just had his ass hanging out? If you remember Apollo and Rocky, they were wearing short shorts. Let's take a look at what I'm tweeting, shall we? Over at Super 70 Sports on X. Get your ass over there and follow me if you don't already, but let's face it, you probably already do. He let that slow Italian bastard win, and we all know it, Ron. There is 0% chance that Rocky was outrunning Apollo Creed. Did you see their two fights where Apollo's up dancing around and Rocky's just moving along like a sloth, trying to catch him with a left hook? There's just no way. Apollo let him win. That is like when you let your 8-year-old win a game. That's what that was. And Rocky was so proud of himself. He started jumping around. Did you let Tyler win when you guys played games when she was a little girl, Ron? Where do you fall on the spectrum of parents who believe in good, legitimate competition and parents that think that it's healthy to let your kid get a few wins just to build up their confidence and self-esteem?
100% did not let her win at anything. But I will say the kid's really smart. And I think probably by the time she was 5 or 6, she was beating me at Connect 4.
Well, Tyler will be pleased to know that all of those Connect 4 victories are legitimate.
Oh.
And that's a nice thing for you to admit in public,
Yeah,
Ron.
Oh,
Connect 4, yeah, I don't have the attention
she's a lot
span for
smarter than
that
me.
shit.
Yeah, she's a lot
Yeah,
smarter
I'm
than
trying
me.
to do other stuff. I don't know. What else am I tweeting? What's going on here? What am I doing? Here's a little blast from the past for you, Ron. I just simply said, who else remembers how much fun this was? Ron, this might have been after your era. Did they have these when you were a lad?
I legitimately was afraid to tell you because I didn't want to get ostracized that I don't remember it, but I don't remember it.
Well, I bet you remember having hours and hours of by yourself enjoyment, though, when you were a young man. You can relate to that part, can't you?
Oh, Ricky.
Those were fun, man.
So explain to me. Explain to those of us that don't know
Tim
what's
is
in there.
verifying in my ear the awesomeness of these.
Well, could you explain real quick? If
They
you
were
were to
great.
open it up, what do you see? What's going on in there?
Well, there's different little games, similar to remember how there'd be good games on the back of cereal boxes sometimes when you were a kid? There were
Like
just a lot of
mazes?
different little games you could play. Well, probably mazes and lots of other stuff. I haven't played one in like 40 years, Ron, so I don't remember exactly, but there was multiple choice games, general sports questions, and then you
Okay.
would use the highlighter there to reveal
The
the
magic
answers.
pen?
The magic pen would reveal all. What else am I tweeting? Just walking down memory lane there. Here's one for you. Look at that. If you had these back in the early 1980s, you probably felt like Elon Musk. Ron, $50 worth of quarters. Just walk into the arcade. You could just call your shots. Whatever you wanted to play. There's not going to be any limits on the amount of fun that you could have.
And then, unfortunately, when you got older, that was taking you to the laundromat.
You think the average kid today has any concept of the joy of rolling coins?
Yeah, I think. I mean, don't people still collect like I do? I've always just thrown my change in something. I've always done that. So I know Tyler's been around when we've done it. I don't know, Ricky. I always keep change. Or
I used to roll pennies, man. I used to roll pennies. That's how old I am.
Well, you know what? You might be right because now they have those things at the store, that Coinstar, where you can just go dump them in. So you know what? We're not rolling them anymore. You can still collect them and save them, but now you're just throwing them in that machine that counts them for you.
All right, Ron, I'm going to throw somebody under the bus for being shitty here. Did you see my tweet that got stolen yesterday, Ron?
I see a lot of your stuff get stolen. Yeah, I saw.
Yeah, this time capsule tales. You fucking thief. Look, I work hard to create my content. And, I tweet things as evergreen classics. There are tweets that I'll tweet 2 or 3 times a year. But look, Paul McCartney wrote Hey Jude, and he didn't write it to just play it once, did he? But what bothers me, Ron, is when somebody just out and out steals my material, particularly when I see it on X. I see my stuff taken without attribution all over Facebook and other social media. And I'm a big boy. I understand that that's the way that it's played. And so for the most part, it bothers my fans more than it bothers me. People will send me messages and say, hey, did you see this? Or isn't this yours? And I'll just be like, yeah, that's mine, but what can you do? But this fucker took my tweet basically verbatim and the picture and tweeted it all from an X account that has over 600,000 followers, just straight up stealing my shit, which to me is the worst thing that you can possibly do. There's a lot of content out there on X and out there on social media. Some of it's good, some of it's shitty, some of it's for me, some of it's not for me. But I got respect for anybody who's out there hustling and working and trying to build a following, because I know how hard it is. But do it with your own fucking work. Ron, can I get an amen from the congregation?
Yeah, man. And you see he immediately deleted it. Now, I don't have a problem, and I don't know how you feel about this. Let me know. I don't have a problem with if somebody takes a picture that you've posted that maybe they've never seen before and writes their own caption for it. Like, that's okay, right?
No, that's fine. That's just how the internet works.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. It's the taking of the words and then using the exact words as though they're your own. Look,
you hear
we're
comics
all
talk about this
inspired
all the
by
time.
what other people do. Yeah, it's okay to be inspired or influenced by somebody else's work. We all do that. But do your own joke. Have your own original thought. And this guy too, as long as I'm just going to sit here and be honest, took Hagler Hearn's tweet that I had and stole it about 85% of the language. And I saw that the other day, and I just kind of rolled my eyes and went on. And then somebody brought it to my attention. It was this same motherfucker. So time capsule takes, do your own work, man. Or if you must steal from people, don't steal from me, because I'm going to call your sorry ass out for having done it. I got no respect for it.
Hey, OutKick fans on YouTube, if you enjoyed this episode, hit the subscribe button and make your way over to OutKick.com where you can watch the full episode.